Hey everybody, today we're going to take another second look at a key swing state for 2024. We've only got one battleground left after this, but today we're going to head into the Southwest and it's going to be Arizona. So this map shows us the presidential shifts between 16 and 20, and Arizona, like with many other states, is almost entirely blue. It was an extremely narrow margin last time, and this ended up being a state that Biden was able to flip. It's expected to be yet again up for grabs, so let's get a little bit of background information on the Grand Canyon state. So Arizona maintains its 11 electoral votes from 2020, and the margin last time was extremely narrow. Biden carried it by just 0.3%, and both Biden and Trump were also under 50% of the vote. Now back in 16, again, nobody with 50% of the vote, but Trump carried it by a wider margin. It was close to 3.5 points, but Trump was at 48.7. The thing to take note of in that election is there's an increased share of third-party support. In 2020, you can see that dropped off dramatically. Now prior to 2016, this was mostly known as a fairly reliably red state. Romney easily won it over Obama. McCain carried his home state by a relatively comfortable margin. Then it was red through the Bush years, but then back in 1996, Bill Clinton was able to carry it by a couple of points. In 92, it narrowly went in the other direction, and then prior to that, it was very reliably red. Going back to 76, Republicans winning all those by at least 15 points. So over the decades, we've seen this transform from a mostly red state into a very purple state. Now let's look closer at the last election. Again, we've got Biden at about 49.4, Trump is at about 49.1, and it looks like the narrow margin was over 10,000. But the third-party vote here was reduced. Joe Jorgensen had the most at about 1.5%. Now, if you go down here and glance at the county map, Arizona has 15 of them, and you can familiarize yourself with some of the major cities. On here, they've got Phoenix and Tucson. Now, down below, if we sort these 15 counties by the total number of votes cast, we can see that Maricopa by far has the most number of votes. It actually has more votes than every other county combined. So last time, Joe Biden flipped and was able to win this county by a narrow 2 points. After that, in Pima County, Biden also carried that by 19. After that, Trump wins most of the remaining counties, but there are some that do have a larger Native American population that Biden was able to carry. Now, to take a closer look at some of the shifts in these counties, we can get on Ballotpedia. Let's go right back into Maricopa, where all the population is, and over 60% of the voters are just in this one county. Of course, over the decades, this county has gained a lot of population, so every percentage point here is going to matter a lot for the statewide margin. There's some similarities here with the importance of this county, just as in Clark County in neighboring Nevada. But if we look at 3 elections ago in 2012, Mitt Romney carried this county by double digits. But 4 years after that election, Hillary improved on Obama's total by about 1 point. However, on the other side, Trump's support declined over 6 points. A lot of that went into third parties, but even though Trump was able to still carry the state, that's a big factor as to why his margin was significantly reduced. Now, in the last election, with less third-party vote, Trump was basically flat at 48. But on the other side, Biden went up over 5 points. So that was enough for the county to flip and Biden to carry the state. Now, the next most populous county that has Tucson is going to be Pima. This county was already blue back in 2012. In 16, Hillary's support went up very slightly while Trump's dropped way off. Then in 20, again, Trump was totally stagnant while Biden went up about 5 points. So far in the 2 most populous counties, it looks like everything is moving toward the left. Now, the most populous county that Trump was able to win is Pinal. We can see the margins last time were very similar to what they were in 2012. However, between 16 and 20, with less third-party vote, Biden gained more than Trump did. Trump went up about 1.5, while Biden was up over 2.5. So far in these shifts, again, not a lot of great signs here for Trump. But one bright spot for him is going to be in the Southwest, right on the border in Yuma County. This was a lot redder back in the Obama-Romney matchup in 12. Romney got that by double digits. But comparing 16 to 20, this time Biden was pretty much stagnant, while Trump improved on his total by about 4.5 points. So that could be a place that Trump might be looking to make some gains. However, given there are significantly less people in these counties outside of Maricopa, Trump cannot continue to bleed support in the Phoenix suburbs. But a couple of counties here toward the eastern border in Graham and Greenlee, they did get decidedly redder. Now, in a close election, every single vote matters. But given that there are so few people here, even if Trump were getting 100% of the vote, it would have a very negligible impact on the overall margin. So we can't look at every county, but those are some of the more notable ones. Again, most of them, especially where there's more people, that vote did get bluer. Now, another way we could take a look at some of these shifts are to get on this map here. This is the 2020 presidential vote, and this will show you the results all the way down to a precinct level. So if you start zoomed out, you can see some red and some blue. Again, a lot of that blue is going to be in populations with a higher Native American population. But let's zoom in a little bit on Maricopa and take a look at Phoenix and the surrounding suburbs. Here in the city, we could see that Biden won most of these precincts by massive 50 to 60 point margins. And just outside of that, once you dip into the suburbs, you get a little bit lighter blue, then you get some lighter red. Now, the important thing we can do is click right here, and this will show you the shifts between 16 and 20. If we hit that, then we get a different perspective. There's a few lighter red precincts around Phoenix here that did shift toward Trump. Most of those were by very low single-digit margins. And then there are a few deeper red shifts in some of these precincts farther outside of the suburbs. However, the biggest takeaway is going to be in these suburbs. It's almost entirely blue. And even though many of them were only single-digit shifts, there's a lot of them, and clearly they can add up, enough so that Biden was able to flip and win the county. So this is what happened 4 years ago, and this is going to be the biggest concern for Trump. Now, he's not in office now. He's not the party in power. It's possible he can hold these margins, maybe even move them a little bit back toward the right. If he does that at all, I think he would be able to win the state, even if Harris is able to get better turnout in Phoenix itself. Now, another way to look at these shifts are to get on this map here. This has the red and the blue arrows. These are again the shifts between 16 and 20. The bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. And as we saw, there are a few counties that did shift a little bit toward Trump. Most of them have low populations. But what we can do is also click on any one of these arrows to get a more detailed breakdown. Let's take a look at one we haven't taken a look at. How about Yavapai? There's about 3% of the population that lives here, so not entirely insignificant. Now, between 16 and 20, both Biden and Trump gained raw votes. And Trump was actually able to gain more here. He was over 20,000, while Biden was at about 14. But again, there was a dramatic drop-off in third-party vote. It went down over 70%. It's a raw 5.1% reduction, down to just 1.5%. And throughout all those shifts, Biden was able to close the gap just a little bit. Trump went up 1.6, but Biden went up 3.5. So again, a little bit of movement there toward Biden. And you could also do the same thing for any of these other counties. Now, a key factor in determining the shifts or the trends could be the shifts among specific demographic groups. Here's the 2020 exit polling specific to Arizona. And we could see that Trump won men 52 to 46, but Biden won women by nearly the same margin, 52 to 47. Biden won voters under 45, while Trump carried those over 45. We can't go over everything, but we've also got the education and the religion breakdown. Feel free to pause it if you'd like, but then we've got population density. Biden carried urban voters 59 to 40, then suburban voters, which is going to be highly important. Trump actually did carry those by a narrow 51 to 48, and suburban voters made up 50% of this survey. Then we've got the key issues, and back in 2020, it was a completely different landscape. COVID was a big deal. There was a lot of unrest at the time. Now it's inflation, immigration, and abortion. Back then, those who said immigration was most important was only 5%, and abortion was just 2%. Abortion didn't even register on this survey. But those that thought immigration was the most important back then voted for Trump 85 to 13. So Trump is going to be looking to get those kinds of voters that think immigration is paramount to turn out and support him. Harris is going to be looking to elevate abortion as the key issue. She should win those voters easily, but the question is going to be, what's the margin? And the other thing a lot of people are going to talk about is going to be the racial or the ethnic breakdown. There's a lot of talk about if Hispanic voters are going to move a little bit toward Trump. In this survey, white voters, which made up 71% of the survey, broke for Trump by 8, 53 to 45. Black voters did not have enough to register on this survey, but Hispanic voters, they broke for Biden 59 to 40. 1 or 2 points with either of those demographics could be the entire election. Education is also a big divide. Trump is going to be looking to make gains with blue-collar, non-college educated voters of all backgrounds. Harris, on the other side, is going to be looking to run it up with college-educated voters. So those are some groups to take a look at, but of course enthusiasm could dictate turnout. And this map shows you the voter turnout in the past 3 federal elections. In the blue wave of 2018, the turnout here was about 47. Then in 2020, it spiked to 68. But then in the last midterm, it sank back down to about 49. I would guess this time would be somewhere between 18 and 20. So this has become a pretty purple state. Democrats have had more success as of late, but there are still some statewide elected Republicans. But in a couple of years ago, in the highly contested governor's election, Democrats were able to narrowly flip that seat by less than 1 point. You can see here Katie Hobbs with about 50.3, Carrie Lake at about 49.7, and in Maricopa County that almost mirrors the statewide result. There, Hobbs at 51, Lake at 49. So it's certainly still possible for Republicans to win in this state, but you do have to be the right kind of a Republican. Now, the last thing we're going to do is see how accurate the polling was back in 2020. So again, Biden gets the state by about 0.3. The average of the aggregate polling had Biden ahead by about 2. Real Clear Politics had him down at about 0.9. So not at all terrible. They got the result right, but in a very close election, they did overestimate Biden's support by just a little bit. Most of the individual polls at the end of October did have Biden in the lead. A few had Trump up and a couple were tied. So with all that said, which way will Arizona trend? I think it's going to be anyone's best guess. There's enough data there for each side to be hopeful about. The Trump brand has not been that popular in the state, especially in the Phoenix suburbs. Harris is going to bank on that and abortion with college-educated and women voters to get her over the line. Trump is going to be hoping that the party in power being viewed as negatively is going to give him a boost. That, combined with Harris's unpopularity as vice president, president, especially on immigration. That could swing those suburbs a couple of points in his direction and give him the state. Turnout is going to be key, and the shifts among the demographics we took a look at, that's going to really determine who's going to win this state. So it should be close. We're going to follow it, but that's a look at some of the recent history for Arizona. So let me know in the comments, which way do you think this state is going to trend, or which way do you think it's going to shift? Is Trump going to get wiped out in the suburbs? Is Harris going to fall flat and Trump surges? Which counties or which demographics are you taking a look at the most? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.